Hello folks, my name is Cole and this is my 2023 Honda Ridgeline. I've had it for just over 2 years now, so I thought it was a good time to make a 2-year review of the truck. And if you are new to the channel, this channel is strictly about my Honda Ridgeline. In the 2 years that I've had this truck, I feel like I've really put it to the test. We've gone on a ton of road trips with it, pulled extremely heavy U-Hauls, loaded and unloaded boats, taken it off-roading in Idaho, and we use it to move from spot to spot around the country. So we've had this truck fully loaded down, bed completely full of all of our belongings, and then a trailer behind it. And it's been performing great.
I installed a leveling kit, roof rack, winch, and even tested out the trunk as a cooler.
So let's get to that review. And I'm going to start off with a couple of things that I've learned about the truck recently. Not super helpful, but I thought it was kind of neat. So the first thing is if you push the unlock button once and then within 10 seconds, hold it, you're going to see that all the windows are going to go down and the sunroof also goes back. Yeah. So not really sure what you're going to use that for. Maybe if it's really hot one day and you want to just cool down the truck before you get in it and before you have to start it, you can use it for that. And another way to do that, if you don't want to use the fob for whatever reason, you can take it off and use this normal key. I've got the windows rolled back up and then the sunroof shut as well. So I'm just sticking the key in here and I'm going to unlock it once and then within 10 seconds, turn it that way and hold it. That does the same thing. I would just use the fob if you're going to do this because it's easier, but just another method of doing it. Throughout this video, I am going to be showing you guys a few products that I've added to my Honda Ridgeline, and I don't owe these companies anything. They have given me some products in the past, but that deal is done and over with, so I give completely honest reviews on this kind of stuff, not trying to sell you guys anything. Wouldn't benefit me, but I will add some links to the description, and that way you guys can buy them if you want. But again, not trying to sell you guys anything. These are things that I actually like and I use on my truck. We're going to start with the outside of the truck because it does get a little bit more complicated once we get inside the cab as far as reviewing goes. And if you noticed, I did shine her up a little bit. It was my first time washing and waxing the truck, which I kind of regret because now I see that I've got a ton of door dings and scratches. So if you haven't waxed your truck yet, maybe don't do it because it just makes you kind of feel bad. And I was supposed to have some help cleaning the truck, but I guess I paid the guys at the treats beforehand and they didn't do too much. Actually made it a little bit dirtier, but maybe they tried their best. I don't know. One thing that I know that people get concerned about when getting a mid-sized truck like the Honda Ridgeline is pulling trailers. And I can say I've pulled very heavy U-Hauls and then a boat I pull multiple times a week, and there are absolutely no issues with that. No concerns there. I'm not pulling anything over the 5,000 pound limit, but it does really well, handles really well. But with that, I will say my boat is a skiff, so you have to get a little bit deeper in the water for the boat ramps. And I'm noticing that Sarah, when she likes to back up, she maybe goes a little bit far. So she's actually been dipping the mufflers inside of the water. So I'm starting to get some rust in there. And I spray it off after every single time we go out, but there is some rust inside of the muffler and then a little bit outside. I've been trying to scrub that off, but not a lot of luck. More with the trailering. In the past, I have complained about how thick whatever these things are to hold your safety chains. They're too thick for some U-Haul trailers, but the recent trailers that I've gotten have all had bigger clips, so it hasn't been a concern. And if I do have a trailer that the hooks are too small to get around, I just use a different clip. I just add it to the chain and the problem's solved. So really not a big deal whatsoever. As far as the tailgate goes, I still wish that it would come down softer. I know a lot of trucks have it where it's called like an easy down tailgate or something like that. You can drop it and it doesn't do that, because like I've had buddies comment on how heavy my tailgate is, but it's not a big deal. And it's really neat that we can open it this way And also, if you grab this release over here, you can open it sideways as well. And that just gives you easier access to the bed. That way you don't have to reach over the tailgate and load things. So that can definitely strain your back. So I use this function on the tailgate all the time, whether it's just for groceries, loading up fishing stuff, loading up moving stuff. It makes things a lot easier. And also I can grab things farther in the bed of the truck without having to crawl up in there. So I always enjoy that. When you open the tailgate this way, the in-bed lights do turn on. And if the truck's running, they'll stay on. If it's in accessory mode or just off, they'll stay on for a half an hour if you've got the tailgate open this way. What are you doing, buddy? He goes checking it out. And one thing that still bugs me is that when you open it this way, they don't go on. They flash on for a second, but then turn off, which it makes sense if you're gonna keep the tailgate down and you're hauling something bigger. You wouldn't want the lights to be on the whole time, but I feel like it'd be more helpful if they would just go on for a half an hour or even just a couple of minutes, because I do use the tailgate this way quite a few times, especially at night. So it'd be nice to have a little bit of light in there. And previously, I've had a few questions about whether or not the bed has any holes in the front to drain water, and they definitely do. I just got done washing the truck, and a lot of the water drains out the front, and the rest drains out the back. So no concern there, it's not going to just sit there and pool up. I do normally have the tonneau cover down over the bed of the truck, but just for the video, I kept it off. And I'm not going to link the tonneau cover because I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't know if they're supposed to leak when it rains, but this one leaks really bad, so not a crazy fan about it, and it's kind of starting to fall apart, so don't get that one. As far as the in-bed speakers, I know somebody was concerned that you can't see them, so they didn't think that they had them, but on my truck, I've got the speakers. I've used them quite a few times, and you cannot see them whatsoever. They are inside the sidewalls and in the front of the bed, so they're waterproof. You know, you're not going to wreck them if you're spraying down the truck, but then again, you cannot see them, but they're still there. Located in the bed, we've got our outlet. This is the only actual outlet that we've got in the truck, nothing in the cab. And by outlet, I mean like a house outlet. It is just a 2-prong outlet, so you can always just cut the ground off of a regular extension cord if you need to. But I've been using that lately to charge the trolling motor on my boat. When we go on trips, I just leave the truck running for a little bit and then plug in the trolling motor. So that's really handy to have. And it does put out 400 watts when the truck is parked and on, but if you're driving, it only puts out 150. But I'm not charging anything when I'm driving normally. And of course, we've got our in-bed trunk, which mind moving out? To open that, you got a little button here that we can just lift up, pops right up. One concern that I have, which I wish they would have thought about because I feel like a lot of people do add tonneau covers, is that the lid of the trunk hits the rails on the tonneau cover, which different manufacturers, it's not going to change. So either way, you're going to be hitting that. You can still access the trunk completely, but it would have been more helpful to have it up all the way. I'm still loving the trunk. I've got a ton of stuff in here, mostly my like roadside stuff. I've got first aid stuff, trailering equipment, stuff to pull me out if I get in a little bind, and everything has stayed dry. So that's been really helpful to just have a nice safe spot for all my stuff and not have to have it in the cab or in tubs inside the bed. And one thing that I've recently learned with the trunk is that you can lock it with the key or just by pushing the lock button, and there's a switch inside of the cab in the glove compartment that you can shut off the ability to open this trunk. And that might be useful if you've got some valuable stuff in here, or if you're on a trip and somebody's like valeting your car, you can put your luggage inside the trunk, lock it, and then turn off that switch, and then you can just give them the fob and they're not able to access this trunk here. So just safety measures. I thought that was pretty neat. Not that I keep anything crazy in here, but maybe some people keep some valuable stuff. As far as tie-down spots in the bed, there are 2 in each corner of the bed. 2 on the side here, 1 on the side in front, and then 1 on the bottom of the bed, and the same on the other side. They're really handy for tying things down, but I do wish that they had some on the side as well, because I find that when I'm strapping things down, it would be helpful to be able to strap from the side. And a lot of the times I end up actually strapping to the tonneau cover rail here, which definitely not what it's for. It ends up working, but I just feel like if we had a couple more spots there to tie down, it would be helpful. Switching over to the side of the truck, we've got our tires, and these are no longer the original tires that came on the truck. Now I've got like 67,000 miles, so I think I switched them probably like 10 or 15,000 miles ago, but I went with the Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tires, and I've really been enjoying them. They provide plenty of traction, and I've had absolutely no issues with them. I did consider sizing up my tires when I got them, but there's a lot of mixed reviews. If you go up just one size or two sizes, they were talking about, hey, what'd you do that for? They're talking about some potential rubbing on the truck, and there's different ideas with cutting out some of the plastic, and I just really didn't want to do anything like that to my truck, and I figured it's going to ride better, gas mileage is going to be better if I just stick with the original size. So that's what I did. It would look nicer with bigger tires, but maybe next time I'll consider it. In the front of the truck, you'll notice I do have a little bit more of a gap here than a lot of Ridgelines. I did put in a 1.5-inch leveling kit from J-Sport, and I've really been enjoying that. I think it looks a lot nicer, rides the exact same, so no issues there whatsoever on the ride. But yeah, I think it looks nicer and probably gives me a little bit more clearance in front, but nothing crazy that I'm noticing. And I will say, to be completely transparent, I did the driver's side, like good, perfect, nothing wrong there. But on this side, I actually put a bolt in backwards. So that ended up creating a bit of a mess and costing me a little bit of money because I wasn't able to get it back out, basically strip that thing, and yeah, it was a mess. But I brought it to the Honda dealership, and originally they were requesting me to get a whole new arm, and it was gonna be like $1,000 or something like that. But instead, they just put in a new bolt, kind of reamed it out, and yeah, a bolt and a nut, which saved me a ton of money. So I'm happy with that. But I definitely messed that up. So don't put it in backwards. It was after a 4th of July night, and I woke up in the morning to finish the job, so my head wasn't quite there. But it's working now. The headlights that came with the truck, I still really like. I've still got the original ones in, and the low beams, they are LEDs, and I've previously had a lot of issues with you're driving down the road and people are brighting you because the LEDs are really bright, and I feel like they're angled up, so it's basically right in their eyes. They think you're brighting them the whole time. So I ended up adjusting them down a little bit, which I can show you guys in another video if you're interested, how to lower those, and now I haven't been brighted at all. So that's been really helpful because it's kind of annoying when people are flashing you all the time. And I've been trying to keep the emblem extremely clean because there's actually a radar sensor in here which helps with our adaptive cruise control and some of that fancy stuff that we'll talk about in a little bit. And there's also a camera sensor on the upper part of the windshield right behind the rear view mirror, which also helps with adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, all that fun stuff. So I've just been trying to keep both of those nice and clean so it can work as good as it possibly can, but we'll talk about that more later. I do still have my roof rack on. I've been enjoying this as well. I use it each time we move, so it's been really helpful to store a few larger items up here and kind of frees up the bed. So that's been great. And this is also a product from J-Sport. If you guys are interested, there's not a ton of roof racks on the market for the Honda Ridgeline that aren't like that basket looking rack. So I thought this one looks really nice. It's been holding up great, and yeah, it's been really helpful. I'll show you guys what we've got under the hood of this bad boy. We're just gonna do that, popping the hood right there, just lifting up the hood, finding the lever, pushing it to the right, and we got some water. Looks pretty nice under here, actually. Nice. I really don't know much about engine business when it comes to vehicles, or any engine, I guess, so I'm not going to try to explain anything cool or sophisticated there. So you can just look at it. Let's hop to the inside of the truck. Just going in the back, and I rarely have these seats down like this. Just putting them down to show you guys basically, Because normally, oh, you just wait. Normally we put the dogs back there and we just fold up the seats, lay down their dog beds, and they fit really well. They're really big dogs, so it's important that they've got enough space. But to fold up these seats, we pull this lever and then lift the seat right up. Would you just hold your horses, buddy? And they've got a really nice area to lay back here. So they definitely enjoy that, and it's nice not having to keep them on the seats and not having to cover the seats. But when we do have the seats down, I'm 6'2", and I fit fine back here. I'm not hitting my head in the ceiling. It's close, within a couple of inches, but I'm comfortable. So no problems with sitting back here when you're a little bit taller. One thing that I wish I could remove just momentarily in the back is the bottom bar where the seats lock into. Just that way I could have the dogs back here, not need the dog beds, but it'd be really uncomfortable for them to lay on that bar without some padding. I know some people have taken it out, but I think that's when they don't plan on keeping the seats down. In the back, there are two USB-A ports that you can hook up your cords to and do some charging. Next to the two USB ports, there are two air vents in the back for the passengers back there, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, especially if you're just the one driving, but it makes road trips and even just short drives a lot more enjoyable for those people that are riding in back. And in the back, there are also two cup holders, one in each door. Now we'll hop at the front and check out what we've got here. As far as seat controls for the driver, you've got 3 different buttons. Go up, down, forward, backwards. And this middle one adjusts the back of the chair, and you've got your lumbar support button here. The passenger side and then the rear seats, they don't have any of this fancy stuff. The passenger, it's got the normal handle that you can lay the seat back with, and then the handle in the front that you can move it back and forth. But the seats are really comfortable. As I mentioned, we do go on road trips quite often with the truck where we're driving for hours and hours. And I don't think there's any seat in a vehicle that you don't have to adjust yourself every couple of hours, but I think these seats are more than comfortable. And with this vehicle, you are able to set your seat so then the vehicle remembers the exact position of the seat and the mirrors, not the rear view, just the sides. But to do that, there is a button here on the side that you just hold in set, and it's going to remember that position next time you get in. You've got 2 different buttons that it can remember for 2 different drivers. You got a 1 and a 2, but you just click that while you're in park. You can't do it while you're driving, but then it just adjusts your seat for you, so you don't have to mess with it every single time. In the driver's side door, we're able to control all 4 windows, of course. The back windows, you just have to hold the buttons either way, but the front ones are auto, so if you pull them all the way up, it'll automatically go up and you don't have to touch it anymore. And same with down, you just push it all the way down. But you've also got the option to do it manually, where you just pull it a little bit and it'll slowly go up. Also in the door is the gas cap button. Click that and then the gas cap pops open so you can fill on up. And where we start to get a little bit more fancy, we've got these buttons. This is the parking sensor. It's got sensors all the way around the vehicle that will beep if you're getting too close to an object. This is the lane keep assist. We can turn that on or off there, and you can also turn off the parking sensors. This is the traction control button if you want to turn that off. This is the collision avoidance button. This button, I wasn't sure originally, but it's actually a windshield heater. If you click it, it'll turn on the windshield heater for about 15 minutes, and then it shuts itself off. For the lights in the bed of the truck, you can click the cargo lights. In the last button, you have to click that in order to turn on the outlet inside of the bed of the truck. So if it's not working for you, you probably forgot to turn that on. So you'll just click that, and it's got the 400 watt here for when the vehicle is on and you're not driving, and then the 150 if the vehicle is in accessory mode or if you're driving. An option that I didn't know we had with this truck was the rear defrost window button. It also has a picture of a mirror on it. So when we click that, it's gonna defrost our side mirrors as well. So that's pretty helpful if you're in a climate that has some ice and snow. One thing that I wish this vehicle had was some air-conditioned seats. We've got our heated seats, the buttons right here, but nothing for air-conditioned seats. Hopefully there's an option in the future for the Honda Ridgeline to have that, because it's always helpful, especially if you're in Georgia, where I'm at right now, and it's nice and toasty. I just found this button the other day for the first time. This button turns on all the lights in the vehicle. You can turn it off, but I've been looking for that button forever, so that's nice. Another thing I wasn't aware of was this button right here. That is for the rear view mirror. If you have it on and somebody's behind you at night shining their headlights at you and it's kind of blinding you, this will automatically adjust the mirror, and that way you don't have to flip the lever. Oh, I don't even have a lever. Huh. Well, that's nice. Huh. Well, I guess you got to use that. But it just auto adjusts your rear view mirror, so then it'll tilt it down a little bit and the lights aren't shining in your eyes. Maybe it tilts it up. I don't know. I don't remember. I do wish that the people in the back of the truck were also able to control their heat and AC, but to do that, we have to do it up here just by pushing the rear settings button, and we can easily change that, but it would be nice if they had control, so then I don't have to do it up here. As far as charging your phone, when you're in this vehicle, you have a USB-A port in the front here, and then you've got the 12 volt just cigarette lighter as well, and you've even got another USB-A port inside the center console, and then another cigarette lighter, but no USB-C. I know that they added the USB-C to some of the newer models, so that's definitely something to look out for because they seem to work a little bit better. The center console, this thing is actually really strong. Our Great Dane likes to, for some reason, hop up in the front once in a while, and he'll put his 2 front paws up here, and it hasn't broken yet, and he's a pretty heavy dude. But to open that, just pull that back, and this thing, I really like. It's just for separating your stuff. Otherwise, it's all just kind of piled together. I'll link that in the description because I feel like using this to keep everything organized just makes everything so much easier. It makes it a little bit more difficult to access the USB-A and the cigarette lighter inside of here, but I really don't use those very often. I mainly just use this front one. Another product that you guys might like is in my glove compartment. So if I open that up, I've just got this separator in here. That way everything stays organized just like in the center console, and I'm able to find things a little bit easier. I know there's a lot of people that aren't real excited that shifting from park to drive, reverse, all that is just by pushing buttons. They think they're gonna end up being faulty and get wrecked, but I haven't had any issues with it at all. It doesn't really bother me that it's not a manly shifter that normal trucks have. It's been completely fine. And one thing that I've been doing lately is turning off the automatic shut off and start feature, because it's a bit annoying when you're stopping at a red light or a stop sign and your vehicle shuts off and then the light turns green right away. So I haven't been using that, and I haven't noticed any difference in my gas mileage at all. So I've got that off for now, and I like it a lot more. I'll take you guys through the infotainment system. Something that I learned recently is how to rearrange our apps on here, and then also how to add some as well. This is my first time doing it, but I was just reading the manual the other day, and if you hold down, oh yeah, look at that. If you hold down on one of the apps, it changes to like a customization mode. This way you're able to switch the order of them. Huh, that's nice. I wish I would have known that like 2 years ago. Because I never use the navigation button. I don't even know what that info button does. I'm always using Apple CarPlay, so it's going to be nice to keep it right here. I just push OK, and it's rearranged. That'll take some getting used to, but it'll be helpful. And to add apps, I guess we can just hold down on the blank screen where there are no apps, and we can add an app. Oh, calculator if you want to use that. Huh, well, I guess not a lot to add. There's a browser if you want to search on there, but probably just use your phone. We'll see what happens when I add a calculator. If you want to remove one of your apps, you just hold the app down and drag it over to this trash can. So I'm going to do that with both the things that I just added because I don't need them. I'll select OK, and we're back to the normal stuff. Originally, I was having a lot of problems with Apple CarPlay just not connecting, but ever since I got a new phone and then got it updated, it's been working perfectly. I haven't had any issues with it not connecting or like mid-drive disconnecting, so that's been nice. So I think it was more of my phone than the truck. A couple of things that I've been excited to mention are the lane keep assist, the automatic cruise control, and then the collision avoidance as well. I've got everything turned off besides for the automatic cruise control because I've found that the lane keep assist and the collision avoidance both just do not work great. As I mentioned, I keep the sensors very clean, the camera up at the top behind the rear view, and then the radar sensor behind the emblem. Keep everything very clean, so they should be working as good as they can, but I still have the vehicle sensing things that it shouldn't, and it just hasn't been working well for me at all. When I'm driving on the highway, there's a vehicle coming towards me in a separate lane, it'll sense it and either slow down or slam on the brakes, which isn't great. And even on the drive here, when I had a trailer, I was driving down the interstate, so I was going like 75, 80 and hauling my trailer, and the vehicle sensed a bridge that I went under, and that also alarmed me a ton and slammed on the brakes. So that was not real cool, makes it dangerous. I feel like it's not real safe to have on, but I am able to turn all of those options off with the buttons to the bottom left of the steering wheel. So I always have those off, and that way I don't have to worry about it. I wish they were more helpful, but they just aren't working great, so I keep them off. Sometimes I do keep the lane keep assist on, but I found that it's either not very helpful, where it doesn't adjust you enough to keep you in the lane, or it's too aggressive and it pulls you into the center of the lane, but it pulls you too much that you're going to the other side of the lane. And if you have a trailer with that, it'll make your trailer sway, so I just generally keep that off as well, so I don't have to keep clicking it on and off, because we do pull a boat quite often. One thing that I recently learned was the sport mode that I thought it was called. It's actually called sequential mode. Doesn't really make a difference, but that's used to enhance the performance of the truck. It uses higher RPMs before it shifts, and you're able to accelerate faster, and also if you have a trailer or you're going through mountains, it's helpful with that. In the manual, it does say to keep the truck in drive when you're pulling the trailer if you're on flat ground, but if you're going through any sort of hills or mountains, you're going to want it in sequential. Another interesting thing is if you are like driving through the mountains or have a trailer and you're using your paddle shifters, if you're in regular drive mode and you're using your paddle shifters and you get to like a good speed and you're just cruising, not shifting anymore, it'll end up shifting back to automatic drive mode. But if you're in sequential mode and you're using the paddle shifters, it'll never shift back. Unless you hold the paddle shifter to the right with the plus on it for going up in gear, if you hold that for 2 seconds, then it'll switch back to sequential mode from manual mode. That was just something interesting, I thought, because normally I end up pushing the D/S button down here to switch me out of manual mode. As far as taking this vehicle off-road, we've taken it off-road in Idaho quite a few times, where once we ran into too much snow and that didn't end very well, but the truck tried its hardest. We actually ended up in snow deep enough that it was hitting the bottom of the truck. So if it was lifted up a little bit higher, and it was actually before I got the leveling kit too, but if there was a little bit more ground clearance, I think we could have gone farther, but we ended up running into like 3 feet of snow, so there's no chance at that point. Another trail that we ended up going up in Idaho had a ton of rocks. There was no snow, but it was a pretty good incline, a bunch of rocks, and the truck performed really, really well. There was no concerns with power whatsoever, and it was kind of nice that the vehicle's a little bit smaller than a full-size truck. That way I'm not hitting near as many branches from trees, and we can get around tight corners easier as well. And I'm always amazed when I take this vehicle in the snow, whether it's just in the city streets or in those crazy scary mountains in Colorado, the truck performs very well. I feel like with the all-wheel drive, it definitely gives it an edge versus other vehicles, even trucks with 4-wheel drive. I find myself passing them on the road and I'm having no issues driving at all, but they seem to be struggling a little. But I think that about wraps up my review of our vehicle here. I've really been enjoying it. Like I said, I've had it for 2 years and I'm keeping it. I really like it. I haven't had any crazy complaints or things that it couldn't handle, besides for that snow, but I don't think there's a single vehicle that could handle that unless it's a super jacked up Jeep or something. But it's been working for us great. And if you guys are interested, I do have other videos. We put a winch on the back of the truck. I'm hopefully going to add a receiver to the front of the truck here soon, and that way I can put the winch on the front of the truck instead of the back. So that'd definitely be more helpful. But I've got a video of adding a leveling kit to the truck, adding the roof rack, and just a bunch of review videos and a lot of adventures. So if you guys are interested, check that out. But as always, I do appreciate you guys watching this video, and stay tuned for the next one.